Hello, this is Mayor Karen Bass. Welcome to Los Angeles International.
Excuse me, Karen Bass. I'm trying to record a podcast in LAX right now. What's up, guys? Might not be the most optimal place to record, but fuck it. I mean, it must be optimal because it's what's happening. Do you know what I'm saying? No mistakes ever, even for a moment. But yeah, I'm in LAX right now. Just landed back, and I noticed today, I was in Hawaii with my parents, and when they were driving me to the airport, and my mom and I, say I love you all the time, whenever we say bye, good night, all this stuff, we always say love you. And my dad and I, even though there's no difference in the feeling of love, I love my parents equally, infinitely. But the way that I express it, and my dad and I express it towards each other, is less verbal. We're not verbally expressing I love you all the time, but I always want to say, and it's never like I don't feel loved. I always feel infinitely loved by both of them. I hope this isn't going to interfere with the sound. I mean, how could it not? It's sound entering the phone. You know what, dude? I'm just going to keep going. So, yeah, I was thinking today, because normally when we're about to say bye after we've been hanging out, after seeing each other, we'll say love you when we're hugging each other goodbye. It's not like a routine, it's certainly not established, but I've just noticed that that's sort of when we do it, because I always want to tell him, and so I was noticing today when we were driving to the airport that my brain started playing instances, it started imagining scenarios of me saying I love you to my dad when we're saying goodbye at the airport. And I caught it, and I was like, what is that? Why, what is that? Because it's not like I'm imagining these scenarios of me saying I love you in a way that is really exciting or feels good, and I can't wait to say it. Why would I just say it now? Hey, Dad, love you. I'm sitting next to you, might as well tell you. But it made me think about, I talked about this in a past episode when I was eating dinner with my friends, and when we were all going to say bye, I started noticing my brain being like, oh, are you going to say love you? Should you say love you? Do you say it too much? Overthinking love, basically. And then I remember I didn't say it, and they didn't say it, but it was well, obviously I love you, just because that's kind of the thing, is it's as if love could be encompassed in words, as if any feeling could be encompassed in words. Words are just fucking, Alan Watts says this, words are just signposts. It's not like the word water is ever wet. It's not like the word flower has a smell. But nice. But I was thinking about it, and I was like, even though I also wasn't considering these love scenarios from a space of really sort of visible or apparent fear, it's not like I was panicking, being oh, am I going to say love you and he's not going to say it back or something. But there is some sort of habit pattern that's going on in my head that is centered around the expression of love and how that love will be received. And then it just dawned on me, it was pretty clear. It's oh, dude, what it is that you are planning in your head is often what you're most afraid of going wrong. So and that's why I spend no time in my head planning out scenarios of how I'm going to say love you to my mom. Because I just do it. I don't think about it. And we're in the habit, and et cetera. Not the habit, but it's just how we express ourselves. But obviously there's love languages, My dad and I express love towards each other in infinite ways. that are other than words, and everyone is different and unique. But it was really revealing to me because I was like, dude, basically there's some part of myself that is still afraid of either receiving love or giving love, and how the love that I give will be received, or both. And if you remember, like, the old episodes where we were talking with what Christine, my therapist, said about, like, you know, all of the convincing that I tried to do my whole life that I was, like, you know, not the kid who got molested, like I was enough and I'm good at stuff and whatever. She said that all of that is you trying to convince yourself and the world that you are still lovable. It's like getting heckled in Spanish. Silencio, por favor. Quiero hablar. Gracias. Ay. Who are these announcements for? There's nobody here. They're for me, apparently. So yeah, thinking about that and being like, okay, so that is what when she said that, I like broke down crying because it was like complete resonance. It's like, yeah, that's really what I'm afraid of, is that I feel unlovable, or that that I'm trying to convince. Yeah. And so even though, you know, so much of that belief has been dissolved, it feels like that anyway, because it feels like there's more love in my life than ever. Or maybe there always has been, and I'm just allowing myself to see it and receive it, perceive it, and give it more freely now. But it was just interesting to catch myself, and I was like, man, dude, what would it be like for the whole ride to the airport have no thoughts about what do I think I'm gonna fuck it up? I'm gonna say love you, and it's gonna come off as fuck you or I hate you or something. Like, it's a combination too of, like, I think the trial and, like, maybe a fear of saying the wrong thing, or fear of being misrepresented or misperceived. But when it appears in a situation where you know that the outcome is forever safe, you know, I could say I love you to my dad every day for the rest of eternity, and it would be fine. And I could never tell him I love him again, and he would still know that that I love him. And the same thing goes with my friends at dinner. You know, like, my brain has such a hyperfixation on words and how my words will be perceived, and saying the wrong thing. And so it's interesting to catch it in a space like that, where you know that there is absolutely no danger ever. There's no way it could even possibly go wrong. And yet your brain is still scanning, even slightly, even without, like, strong or even hardly any noticeable momentum. Just the sheer image, just the thought itself is indicative of some lingering fear. And so what do we do about that fear? We love it. We envelop it. We bring our attention to the part of ourself that is saying, I'm scared, or I'm not enough, or I don't feel worthy of this, or whatever the thing is for you. You give that part of yourself love, and you just keep doing it over and over and over again. And it's not something that's hard to do, because it's the doing of something other than love that is hard. It's effort required to do something other than love. Love is effortless. Love is the fucking fabric. It's not like the fabric of the cloth has to try hard to be itself. We are the fabric of the universe. So fundamentally, we have absolutely nothing to worry about. So anyway, my brain just went, oh, there's the so anyway again. Oh, yeah. It's so funny, dude. And it's like, more sort of surface level panics. I was sitting in the airport on the way leaving Hawaii, and I was eating a sandwich, and there were these little birds hopping around, and I decided to start throwing little pieces of bread at them. And then I caught my attention. Some part of my attention had been cast to the person next to me, who I hadn't looked at. I don't even know it was a lady, but I don't even know what she looked like. And yet my brain was casting attention in anticipation of her saying something about me feeding birds. That's fucking crazy. And I think it's just because, we're so brought up to not break rules, and I've been in places that say don't feed birds, and so without even seeing a sign that said don't feed birds, I just made that assumption in a second, instantly created a potential scenario where I could have done something that somebody could have been mad at me for, who I don't even know or even know what they look like. I don't know anything about their personality. I don't know if they're like some sort of fucking anti-bird feeding psycho. But like, basically in a second, my brain created fear, and I caught it, and then fed the birds even harder, because I think that's another way. In addition to the love, you can also take action in love, and keep showing yourself how safe it really is to be. Even if the whole airport started fucking freaking out and throwing bread at me or whatever they did, or just, it's like they're not going to kick me off my flight. They're not going to attack me. The birds certainly aren't going to attack me. If people started attacking me for feeding the birds would probably come to my defense and attack them. Even though that's not what I want. I want no violence ever, anywhere, at any point in time. From anyone. Even birds. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, these little breadcrumbs of fear. Literally and figuratively, that we're leaving for ourselves in our psyche to come back home to who and where and what we really are, which is love. So, on that note, I love you, and I love my dad, and I love the birds, and I love myself. See you guys in the next one. Hasta luego. Au revoir.